Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Dishing with Stephanie's Dish podcast. I'm excited to have you here. As you know, I've had a couple episodes. I think I've had like 28 episodes so far of this version of the podcast. I have a lot of podcasts, so it's kind of hard to keep up, but I wanted to have one where I specifically talked with people that were writing books about cookbooks and writing books about food. And today is a gal named Lisa Patrin, I think. Is that how you say her last name, Lisa?
Patrin, yep.
Patrin, okay. And she has been an Insta follower of mine and I of hers. She's also a food blogger at Empty Nester's Kitchen. And she's come out with a book called Eat Your Words, 125 food and beverage themed puzzles for hungry minds. Lisa, I was so delighted when I saw on Instagram that you were like working on this book and you posted like, here it is, this book. I was so excited to talk to you because I have been following you for a while. You're a great recipe developer, good recipe tester. I love all your recipes and I go to your site often. And now you've put these ideas into what is a puzzle book, which is kind of surprising. When I got it, I was like, oh, this is so great. So describe the puzzles for me. Is it like, it's not an anagram, it's a type of puzzle, right?
Yeah, so it's a type of puzzle. And my goal with it when I started was I was trying to think about, do I want to do a crossword type puzzle? Do I want to do a word find? But as I developed it and as I worked on it, I decided that just having a space for people each puzzle has a theme, a food theme, and with 5 clues. And then just having a spot for people to be able to put the answers in very directly down below seemed like a good option to me. And when I was researching, I really didn't see anything else like that out there. So I thought it was kind of a unique way to approach it.
Yeah, I'm going to try and do one with Steph on Weekly Dish this weekend.
Oh, good.
See if she can guess some of the clues. But it's holiday gift giving season coming up, and Eat Your Words is just a great book for the foodie in your life. My husband would laugh if he heard me. Like, since I had cancer, that was 10 years ago. And one of the things that happens when you get a lot of chemotherapy is apparently you have a focus problem. And I used to be a giant reader, and now I can't have that same level of focus, or I don't have that same level of focus. So when we're like watching TV or when he's driving, I'm always like doing something, and I'm not good for long bursts of time. So I always have like Sudoku, or I have puzzle books. I take them when I travel. And so I was so excited because I thought this would be perfect for me.
Yeah, I mean, that was another one of my, I always am trying to lead with curiosity, and I love to learn things. And when I travel, that is a perfect time because I feel like I don't have to be focused on anything else. And so, like you have permission to sit down and do something fun, but with this, you can also learn some new tips and techniques too. So
what was your background before this book? Like, I know you're the Empty Nester's Kitchen, but did you have like a career, or do you still have a career?
I did. I'm a nurse by trade.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. So I worked at Hennepin County Medical Center in their medical intensive care for a long time.
Sure.
I was the assistant head nurse for a period of time before I retired from that. And we moved to California when our oldest was 10. I have 2 boys. And so when I was out there, I just started exploring more food and wine related things. I had a little more time to be able to do that. I also grew up in an Italian family. My grandpa, well, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, Delmonico's Italian Deli, that was in Northeast Minneapolis.
Of course.
Yeah, so that was my grandpa and his 5 brothers that started that.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was really cool. And, growing up in that family, whenever I'd go to my grandma and grandpa's house, my memory of him was always he'd be standing in the kitchen in his khaki pants and his white t-shirt cooking sausage and peppers from the store. And so that's the first puzzle in my book is sausage, and that's a little ode to him. But anyways, that is my family background. As a nurse, I learned a lot about nutrition and how important it is. And that's another thing that, ingredients can affect what you eat, can so much affect how you feel. And so helping people learn more about that was one of my goals as well.
I love
Um,
it.
yeah, I decided to start the Empty Nesters Kitchen because when our children were both leaving, our kitchen has always been a hub of energy. And I think sometimes people take the connotation of empty nesters as sad or lonely. And I wanted it to continue to be a hub of energy. And so that's why I started writing and wanting to share my recipes and things like that with other people via that avenue. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And do you have, you're doing most of this, I'm assuming, for fun or for paid Instagram if we can get it right? It's kind of a challenging space.
yeah, I don't do a lot paid, but I think my goal is always just to, I'm trying to influence for good wherever I can, and whether that be recipes or local support. We just have so much amazing local food and so many local makers here that's another way that I like to use my social media and my blog to really support farmers and producers and things like that. So.
You had a post recently that really spoke to me that looked so good about Kernza.
Yeah,
Tell me how
Kernza.
you got
So
involved with that.
So I got involved with that through Sue Marshall at Net Zero, and she was connected with Tattersall, which is how I learned about her initially. And she was my first segue into what upcycled foods were, taking food that could have otherwise been wasted or thrown away and upcycling it into something healthy and edible for human consumption.
Yeah.
And so Kernza is one of the avenues that she's using to do that. So I've been experimenting with Kernza grains and Kernza from Minnesota, and all sorts of upcycled grains from Net Zero. In fact, last week I made a banana bread, or excuse me, a pumpkin bread with Kernza and chocolate chips,
Oh,
and it was
yum.
fantastic. And I'm helping with a mentoring program with high schoolers, and so we were trying to teach them about upcycled ingredients, and I served that to them, and they said, "Wow, this is great." I mean, so it's exciting to me. I get excited about helping other people learn about what's out there in those realms. So,
I just read a story recently, I guess this morning, about Redhead Creamery and my friend Elise Shostrom, who I'll see at the Lexington coming up because she's hosting a dinner with me. But I didn't realize that they are trying to upcycle the whey from the
oh,
curds that they make into a vodka. So
oh,
they're talking about how to create again that closed loop system so that
hmm
they can use those waste products to make and distill vodka, which I was like, oh wow, vodka made from whey of cheese, like yum.
yeah, that sounds amazing. The other thing that Zero was doing, and I think they still are, is taking eggshells and upcycling it into collagen products.
That makes
Oh,
so much sense. I would
yeah,
totally rub eggshells on my face, and our
me
grandmas
too.
did.
Exactly, exactly. So there are just so many cool things happening, in that upcycling world. And that's another thing that I'm always really thrilled to share. So
So, how long did it take you to write your book?
so the book actually started many years ago. I was trying to find a way to educate people in a unique and just a different way about food. And so I wrote this puzzle back in 2007, scratched it out on a little piece of paper, and I sent it all around to a bunch of different media outlets. And the Star Tribune picked it up. And so it ran for, I think, 3 years back then. So I had a whole bin of puzzles in my office, probably 200 of them. And during COVID last winter, woke up one night and said in the middle of the night, and I thought, you know what? I've been having these puzzles in my office forever. I always wanted to do something more with them. So I think now is the time. So while the puzzles started and were written, some of them over quite a few years,
Sure.
the book itself took 10 months. Once I decided to do it, from the time I started to it when I finished it was
It's
10
kind
months.
of crazy to think about. We're starting to see the very beginning of a lot of these COVID projects, because that's kind of how the cookbook that I'm working on started too. We were just, my husband and I were like, what's next? And he is a writer and has been writing for 5 years since he officially retired, and was working really hard to get his book published. And I was like, God, I should write a cookbook. He goes, you should, it'd be fun. And we talked about what the theme would be. And he said, well, I'll help you write what is it called that you have to write? There's a name for it. And I'm totally drawing a blank.
The manuscript or the foreword or
You have to write a query letter.
oh,
And the query letter is something that you send to the publisher to say, this is my story, this is my project, this is the theme, here's a sample, here's what it's going to look like. So he helped me. We went on the Minnesota Historical Press website and he helped me put it together. And we got it put together and I wrote the story. He edited it. Then he added some stuff. Then we edited it again. Then I okay, I want these recipes, and we put it all together and we submitted it. And then they called and they were like, sure, this looks like a great project. I have had the most massive imposter syndrome ever since, because it's just this idea that you could produce something like this. Do you have, you've done it because you published in the newspaper.
Yeah, but I understand. I totally get it too. Seeing something like that come to fruition, and being able to say, "Oh, I've actually authored something."
Yes, it's crazy.
It is crazy, and it's a super exciting feeling. And for you guys, how great that you have 2 authors in your house, 2 books. That's a lot to celebrate.
Yeah, it really is. And also, it's been, I don't know, my deadline is December 31st for my manuscript. So I'm really in I'm in the kind of stressful part where I'll get it done. But it's just when you're working on a project like this, you don't really have deadlines. They're sort of self-imposed and it's as good as you want to make it. And right. I'm wanting to be it be really good. And then it's also super personal. Do you feel really personal about your book too?
Oh, definitely. For sure. I do. It's so I self-published and my husband helped me with the formatting of the boxes. And so the 2 of us, would read it and reread it. And then I would send it, the indie publishing company that I worked with, we would go back and forth. They would send me a draft. I'd read it. Is it good enough? No, not yet. And it just, you keep doing it over and over again, because I do take it I really want it to be great.
Yes.
That's really important to me. So it is a super personal thing. I didn't want to just put something out there without really putting a lot of thought into it.
Yeah. And I think that's the part I'm endeavoring next, because once I turn in the manuscript, then, they have it for 10 months to do what they need to do with it. And I know the process kind of starts all over again and they're questioning, and it's just, I don't know. It's been a lot. I'm learning a lot. I'm excited about it, but it's fun to talk to other people that are going through the process too. And where can we get your book? You self-published it. So are you taking it along? Do you have a box of 100 in your car at all times?
I do. I do. And I'm working really hard to get it into, right now it is available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, but I'm working really hard to get it into local bookstores, not only because I think it's great to, support local bookstores. And I also want my friends and people going around to be able to just, support that. So
yep.
While Amazon is easy, local is a great thing to be able to do. So right now, I've just been pounding the pavement on that recently, and it's in the Lotus Gifts, in Chanhassen. That's my first local.
Okay.
Hoping to have it in a lot more. I've been visiting Excelsior Bay Books and many other ones. So fingers crossed that they will pick it up as well.
And maybe Lake Winds too, because I was just there and they had 25 books up on this case for holiday.
Yeah. And that's my stop today.
Oh, it is. Okay. So I have a good feeling about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I have a great list, and I would love to get it into airports, because I think it would appeal, to travelers for sure. People who love food and who are looking at global cuisines.
There is a store too inside, and the airport has changed so much from pandemic to now, or pre-pandemic to now. There was a store in there that's featured only Minnesota made products. So that might be a good fit. Who can probably help you with that is Robin Robinson, because she worked at the airport commission for a long time.
Oh, thank you. What
Yeah,
a
maybe
great
reach
step.
out to her on Instagram. And she's a maker too. She makes jewelry, so she might
Mhm.
be a good
Okay.
contact.
Cool.
Also, yeah, it's fun. It's fun to think about, this idea of that you can create something that's based in your love of food and then take it out into the world. Now, where have you been eating locally? Are you eating out in restaurants yet?
We are. So not as much as before, for sure.
Yes,
We had a great experience at the Dakota last week.
me too.
Yeah, I mean, just so much fun to listen to music and talk to Remy Pettis about all the cool things he's doing. And, he touched our hearts in terms of his focus on responsible sourcing and
Yeah.
sustainability and, just how hard he's working on that. So that was great. And then Zen Box,
Yeah.
one of my favorite ramen places.
I just saw on their Instagram that they're making chili crisp that you can buy. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I was just messaging with Lena about that this morning. I sent her
They're
notes
such
and I'm
nice
so
people
excited.
too.
They are just amazing. Let's see where else. Oh, Billy Sushi.
Yep. Haven't
That
even
was,
been yet. Can you believe it?
oh, it was just, we got in once, but it was great.
Yeah.
And just a really upbeat, energetic vibe
Yeah,
there.
he's so great. When
Really a lot of
you
fun.
you mentioned that you're not eating out as much, and I'm not eating out as much either, and it's not even necessarily intentional.
Mhm.
It's just kind of, I think, the way that my life has changed, and also like there's not as much spontaneity to dining out as there used to be. With I can't get a reservation anywhere on a Friday night, and no one needs to feel sorry for me, but you used to be able to, if you had a handful of restaurants. Last night I was by myself and I wanted to just pop into a bar somewhere and eat, and I was in St. Paul and I was going down my list, like Jones in the Park was closed, Chips Clubhouse was closed, Hyacinth was closed. Like it was
Mhm.
just all of the places that I normally could have maybe popped in and gotten a seat. Oh, I was going to go to Kaluna, that was closed. So I just I've ended up at Stewart's in St. Paul, and I hadn't been for a while, and so I'm really glad I ended up there. But it's just kind of a different experience. You need to be much more intentional about your dining.
Right. Stewart's is great. That's a good place to end up.
Yeah, it sure
um,
was.
but yeah, I mean, I think it's, you do have to, at least with COVID, we were stuck at home for so long and things did change in the industry in terms of what's open, what's not, different hours. And so you're right, the spontaneity is different for sure. And I just feel like you have to think more about our plans now. I mean, you can't just, we used to just pop downtown for dessert or ramen at Spoon and Stable on Saturday night at 10 o'clock, their late night
Yep.
specials that they had. And so I think COVID has changed that. And I hope eventually we can get back to where we were. I think a lot of people are cooking more at home now. And so maybe they aren't necessarily even in that mindset anymore of let's just run out and grab something to eat because they couldn't for so long. So
You
that's
know what I
changed.
think? You know what I think it is for us? It used to feel like a pain or more effort to cook
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't have like the ingredients, or we'd have to go to the store. And now it feels more like a pain and more effort to get that reservation or to figure out who's open or where we can
Mm-hmm.
go. And I'm sort of sad that there's been that shift, but I guess on the positive side, I'm certainly eating better in terms of what's healthier for me. Probably drinking the same if I'm being honest, because I'm drinking at
Right.
home. But also with the expense of food and inflation, I wonder if people will again continue to sort of hunker down at home, because you can have an
Mm-hmm.
omelet, or you can make chili pretty inexpensively, a pile of lentils. If you're working on a budget, cooking usually is a cheaper way to go than eating out.
Right, right. And even, when our kids, before we had kids, John and I cooked together a lot. And then, life got very busy. And during COVID, we kind of returned to that a little bit more of cooking together. And it's so much fun to do that. Whether he's just chopping or, just being in the kitchen at the island
Yeah.
together. And so there's those experiences that we've returned to that I really enjoy. So while I love going out to eat, we're doing more of that. And now that we can gather again, we have amazing friends that we just missed so much during COVID. And to be able to gather around the table in somebody's home, it's a little bit easier to talk sometimes
Yeah.
than when you're out in a restaurant. As much as I love the restaurant experience, that's something that we've been really excited to return to and have been embracing. So
Yeah, I feel the exact same way, and we're doing more, I guess, more entertaining, just but more casual entertaining, like biting a
right.
couple or two. So it's
Mm-hmm.
fun. Well,
Yeah.
I wish you success with the book. Eat Your Words. It's Lisa Patrin, and it's food and beverage themed puzzles for hungry minds. I'm really a fan. I'm excited about it. Do you keep like an updated list of where people can find things, or is your website or your Instagram the best place for people to connect with you?
I think right now my website, my Instagram, and then my empty nesters kitchen.com is the best place right now. And I'll be updating my stories as it gets into more local places and on my link tree
Okay,
via my Instagram. So
I'm anticipating releasing this episode like the first week of December. So hopefully we can get you some Christmas sales.
great. Thank you. Just thank you so much for having me. And I'm a huge fan of yours too. And I cannot wait for your cookbook. And I've
Thanks,
done
Lisa.
recipes of yours. In fact, my brother his very favorite soup is wild rice soup. And your recipe really hit the mark.
Oh,
So
thank you. My Instant Pot recipe. Yeah,
yes, yes.
that
Yep.
is a popular one. It's funny the recipes that resonate with people, like it just kind of cracks me up. And then recipes that I really love, and people are like, no, I would never cook turnips. Just
Yeah.
kind of the funny ones. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And we'll talk soon,
Yeah.
Lisa.
Thank you. Have a
Okay.
great day.
Bye.
Bye.